A commentator shouts that we are watching an unpredictable and very close battle. In the ring we see a young boxer looking completely exhausted and out of breath. His opponent however looks confident while saying it is not that much of a deal. The analyst points out that Lee Ki-ju is actually losing focus and panting for air. Despite his exhaustion, Ki-ju suddenly stumbles forward on his unstable feet. Just as he says that, the young man throws a surprising double jab at his opponent. He immediately follows it up by going for another hit on his rival's body. But the opponent's defense is tough and Ki-ju barely dodges a strong counter punch. The other fighter throws a heavy punch but the protagonist manages to duck underneath it. We see the rival keeping a tight guard, showing that he is not an easy foe. Ki-ju tries a left uppercut after ducking but it unfortunately misses its target. Seeing an opening, the other boxer immediately prepares a swift counter-attack. A brutal punch lands squarely on Ki-ju's body, making a very loud sound. The commentator screams in surprise as Lee Ki-ju staggers badly from the heavy blow. His vision blurs while he wonders where the next attack will come from. Ki-ju blocks a punch but his eyes widen in realization of the real threat. Before he can react, a powerful punch lands squarely on his jaw. The announcer shouts it was a rear hand counter with amazing strength control. With a fierce look, Kong Jin reveals that his right hand was the real finishing blow. At that moment Kong Jin rushes forward to end the fight for good. A final devastating punch connects, sending the protagonist flying across the ring. His mouthguard flies out as he is thrown into the air by the sheer force of the impact. The young man then crashes hard onto the canvas, completely knocked out. We see his mouthguard bouncing helplessly on the floor of the ring. The entire crowd watches in stunned silence as their hero is defeated. From the sidelines his coach yells while the announcer confirms Ki-ju is down. Lying on the ground, the boy is completely spent and unable to move. In the audience a young woman watches the scene unfold with a pained expression. Her hands are clasped tightly together as she looks on, full of worry for him. The referee quickly runs to check on the downed fighter while Kong Jin watches. The referee continues the count, showing concern for the downed fighter on the canvas. Suddenly a bizarre image flashes in his mind of being used in a beer advertisement. Waking up slowly, the boy feels confused and wonders why he is lying on the ground. He then recalls that everything in his current life started from one specific moment. A memory begins to play as a girl calls his name, snapping him out of his daze. Looking up, he sees her holding out his phone and asking if the device is his. The young man's face turns completely red as he gets flustered by her kind gesture. He stammers a bit while trying to properly thank her for finding his lost cell phone. She calmly explains that she simply picked it up while she was cleaning the area. This whole scene at the bus stop feels incredibly familiar to the protagonist. It reminds him of a similar yet different memory where he was surrounded by bullies. Back then he was just a toy for them and was forced to do whatever they wanted. He remembers a delinquent looking down on him after he brought him some cigarettes. A girl in the group even calls him a very useful errand boy with a smug smile. His painful memory ends with one of the bullies cruelly hitting him on the head. He remembers how he used to just take hits while his supposed friends made fun of him. He recalls a time when a girl wrongly accused him of staring at her legs. This simple misunderstanding made her boyfriend extremely angry and ready for a fight. Without even a chance to explain himself, he was immediately punched in the face. He was completely helpless and they treated him like a toy for their own amusement. Even after he was on the ground, the bully continued to attack him relentlessly. His tormentors just laughed and mocked him while he was on the floor in pain. Lying there defeated, he finally had an important realization about his whole life. He understood that everyone around him only saw him as a pathetic loser. The main character realized that losers like him simply don't have girlfriends. He figured out that having a girlfriend was the key to not being seen as a loser. This simple but shocking truth finally pushed him to make a big decision. So with newfound determination he decides to get a girlfriend at his new school. Now in a new environment he wonders if this is his real chance to change. Just then a pretty girl walks past and waves goodbye to someone nearby. Acting on a sudden impulse, he quickly calls out to the girl walking away. She turns around with a curious look while he gets flustered and scratches his head. The young woman then asks him directly if he has something he wants to say to her. Now feeling the pressure, he starts to panic and can't think of what to say. Getting impatient, she tells him she's leaving if he has nothing important to tell her. He takes a deep breath and musters all the courage he has left in his body. Then with all his might he blurts out a loud confession asking her to go out with him. But at that exact moment a very loud bus drives right past them on the street. The sound of the vehicle completely drowns out his desperate and heartfelt words. He's left standing there completely shocked that he actually managed to say it. The girl looks back and explains she couldn't hear him because of all the noise. His heart completely sinks as he realizes his big moment was ruined by bad timing. He starts freaking out internally, wondering what he's supposed to do in this situation. As she prepares to leave for good, he quickly calls out to her one last time. Determined not to let this opportunity slip away, he starts running after her. He desperately runs after her across the street, determined to get a clear answer. Finally catching up to her, he bravely stands in her way to stop her from leaving. She turns around with a very annoyed look and asks him what he wants now. The young woman then demands to know why he has been following her this whole time. He gets incredibly nervous again and struggles to find the right words to say. Taking a deep breath, he confidently asks her to go on a date with him. She just stares back at him with a blank expression, not saying a single word. Her long silence makes him extremely embarrassed as he starts to blush uncontrollably. Still not giving an answer, she stands there with her arms crossed looking at him. Then her expression suddenly changes and she clenches her fist with great force. His eyes widen in complete shock as she gets ready to do something crazy. Without any warning at all, she throws a powerful punch straight at his face. The unexpected blow sends him stumbling backwards in a state of total disbelief. But she doesn't let up and quickly grabs him by the collar for another attack. He is left completely stunned and disoriented by this very violent rejection. Still reeling from the attack, he is shocked when her hand just flicks his forehead. Rubbing the spot, he wonders why she would suddenly do something so confusing. She then coldly tells him that she really hates weak and pathetic guys like him. Without another word, the young woman turns her back on him and begins to walk away. He desperately calls out to her one more time, but she continues to ignore him. Then something in the distance suddenly catches his eye and he looks up surprised. He realizes he's standing in front of a building that seems to be a boxing gym. To his complete surprise, the girl happily calls out to a man upstairs yelling, "Dad." She tells her father she's heading inside to warm up and he tells her to be careful. The older man lights a cigarette while looking down at the dejected protagonist. The father's eyes narrow as he seems to recall the earlier confrontation. He then drops his cigarette on the ground and starts walking towards the boy. The man's intimidating presence makes the main character feel incredibly nervous. He panics and tries to explain that he didn't mean to cause any trouble at all. But the large man just grabs his shoulder with a very powerful and firm grip. The protagonist is completely frozen with fear as the huge man keeps a tight grip on him. But instead of threatening him, the man makes a very unexpected offer to become a boxer. This sudden and bizarre proposal leaves the young man totally confused and speechless. And just like that, our hero's journey into the intense world of boxing officially began. Sometime later, the girl arrives at the gym telling her dad she's there to work out. We see the protagonist nearby already changed and seemingly ready for his training session. He claims that without a single doubt he had truly fallen in love with boxing. But it's obvious his main focus is still on the girl as she prepares for her workout. The young man tries to tell himself that he was taking this whole thing very seriously. However, he can't help but get completely distracted by her every single move. With a determined look, he declares that boxing is the greatest sport of his entire life. It seems his true motivation is to become stronger so she will finally notice him. Now in the ring, he practices his punches while the father and daughter observe him. She then asks her dad for his honest opinion on the new recruit's overall progress. The coach just smiles and says that if things stay like this, it would be perfect. It seems the main character was looking forward to a very important day on the calendar. Back in the present, a classroom door is suddenly slammed open with great force. A group of intimidating bullies then storms into the room, shocking all the students. The leader of the gang makes a sarcastic remark about ending school violence. While the others decide to pay for safety, the girl from the gym mutters insults. Her quiet words are somehow overheard by the blonde guy, who gets very angry. He then walks up to her desk and demands that she repeat what she just said. She boldly talks back to him, which causes the enraged bully to raise his hand. Unfazed by his threat, she challenges him to actually go through with hitting her. Instead of attacking, he just laughs and puts his hand on her shoulder mockingly. The thug then makes a very cruel comment about her father to upset her even more. While she tries to control her anger, he continues to taunt her about being on a diet. He notices a carton of diet milk on her desk and decides to escalate the situation. The bully then crushes the drink in his hand, saying he's just trying to help a friend. As a final act of humiliation, he pours the sticky liquid all over her head. The bully flashes a very wicked smile, completely enjoying the cruel prank he just pulled. Covered in the sticky mess, the girl feels utterly humiliated and defeated by the situation. While some of the classmates just laugh at her misfortune, others can only watch in shock. With tears streaming down her face, she slams her hand on the desk out of pure frustration. Trying to regain her composure, she sits up straight, attempting to ignore the whole incident. But then a firm voice from the doorway suddenly tells the blonde thug to stop immediately. The girl looks up with surprise while the other bullies wonder who is interfering. The protagonist then steps forward and asks what kind of mess they're making in the classroom. She is completely shocked to see that it's the same guy who confessed to her earlier. Without a second of hesitation, he grabs the bully's face with a very strong grip. The thug gets extremely angry and asks if the new guy is trying to start a fight. As a boxer, the main character really didn't want to get into a fight at school. But he knows he can't just stand by and watch while she gets harassed like this. Her past words about hating weak people now echo strongly in his determined mind. Meanwhile, she just wonders why this strange guy is always staring directly at her. With a confident wink, he tells the girl not to worry because he'll go easy on him. While she wonders what's wrong with him, the enraged bully throws a wild punch. The protagonist easily sees that his opponent's moves are too big and predictable. Using his training, he effortlessly parries the incoming fist with a swift motion. The quick counterattack lands squarely on the thug's face, stunning him completely. After his first successful hit, he calmly starts counting the blows out loud. The bully is left confused by this strange behavior as the protagonist dodges again. He then quickly follows up with a second powerful punch to the thug's body. This is just a filler page, so let's get right back to the intense classroom action. Losing his patience, the blonde delinquent throws another reckless punch forward. But our hero's superior skill allows him to easily evade the telegraphed attack. He then sees a clear opening and launches a straight punch of his own in response. The well-aimed strike connects perfectly and sends the bully stumbling backwards. He looks at his opponent with a smirk and simply says the number 1. This leaves the thug completely bewildered as he tries to process what just happened. With a burst of speed, he dashes forward and yells out the number 2. He then delivers a powerful body blow that lands with a huge amount of force. The punch sends the bully flying into a nearby locker with a very loud crash. But the impact causes a sharp pain to shoot through the protagonist's own hand. He realizes he messed up the punch and now his fist feels completely crushed. The girl just calls him an idiot for trying to show off all by himself. However, she can't help but be impressed by the new kid's surprising strength. The other students are also amazed by the sound of the locker getting destroyed. They realize he must be secretly strong since he went easy on the bully. His friends quickly help the dazed delinquent get back up on his feet. The main character internally panics about his injured hand and his rookie status. He tries to regain his composure and remember his coach's advice about his expression. The bully then makes a ridiculous excuse about his grandfather's memorial. But his own friend immediately calls him out for the completely fabricated lie. The thug is left looking like a total fool after his pathetic attempt to save face. The students are amazed at how he punched so hard his hand got stuck. He tries to hold it together and make the finish look cool for the girl. With a charming smile, he suggests that everyone should just try to get along. She just looks at him with a puzzled expression, not sure what to think of him. News of the incident quickly spreads through the school's online chat groups. Students start gossiping about how the new kid is a boxer who trashed the locker. The rumors continue to fly around, with some even saying he was handpicked. Soon everyone in the hallway is staring at him with a mix of awe and curiosity. He notices a sudden and significant change in the atmosphere around him. The way his classmates look at him now is completely different than before. A confident smile appears on his face as he enjoys his newfound reputation. But then his attention is suddenly drawn to a familiar face in the distance. He sees the girl from the gym walking with a friend and gets a great idea. The protagonist then runs after her and asks if she wants to come with him. He's happy that he doesn't have to explain himself since everyone knows he's a boxer. At the hospital, the doctor tells him he needs to wear a cast and avoid exercise. The physician explains it's a partial cast so it shouldn't affect his schoolwork. He's disappointed he has to take a break from boxing to let his hand heal. The young boxer reflects on his mistake of using too much force in his punch. He realizes that his tense muscles and poor balance threw off his entire form. The extra tension in his shoulders also messed up his striking point badly. This experience makes him wonder if he should try sparring to get better. But he decides it's probably too much for him to handle at his current level. Back at the boxing gym, he prepares to tell his coach the very bad news. The older man is completely shocked and slams his fist on the table in anger. He can't believe his new student will be out of commission for a whole month. The coach yells about how important this time is for the struggling gym. This outburst leaves the protagonist very confused about what's so important. The gym owner then starts panicking about his loans and the rent he has to pay. The young man just watches silently as his coach has a complete mental breakdown. The coach tries to play it cool, saying he's just wasting his talent with the injury. The protagonist reminds him that he can't fight with his hand in its current state. The gym owner feels completely hopeless, thinking there's nothing that can be done. But the young boxer's determined look gives the desperate coach a sudden idea. The girl chimes in, saying he's not some legendary boxer named Thomas Burns. She points out that he can't just suddenly pull off a move like a flicker jab. The main character is intrigued by the mention of this mysterious fighter and his move. Then with a snap of his fingers, the coach gets a brilliant and crazy idea. He gets extremely excited and points at the protagonist with renewed hope. The older man tells him to use this as a chance to train his left hand. He then explains that Thomas Burns was a champion who dominated 5 weight classes. While known for his right hand straight, he also had a very special trademark move. The coach grabs his student's hand and says he's seen the same potential in him. With a serious look, he declares that he'll turn his left jab into a lethal weapon. The gym owner then gets a very intense look as he pictures the brutal results. The protagonist is intrigued by the idea of mastering the flicker jab. He realizes there's more than one way to become a strong and successful boxer. With a renewed sense of determination, he clenches his fist and agrees to the training. The young man is now fully committed to learning this new and challenging technique. He starts his intense training by repeatedly striking a punching bag with his left hand. The rigorous routine even includes punching a tree to strengthen his knuckles. His training gets even crazier as he practices his jabs under a waterfall. At one point, the coach makes him hit a tire, but he yells that he never ordered it. The training then takes a very strange turn as the coach boils a pot of water. He then makes his student repeatedly dip his hand into the boiling liquid. The coach reflects on his 20 years of running the gym and all the members. He thinks to himself that he has seen countless fighters come and go over the years. As he watches the protagonist train, he realizes he's never seen anyone like him. The young boxer's raw power and determination are truly on a whole other level. He then comes to a very shocking conclusion that his student is utterly talentless. For now, the protagonist is only thinking about his precious money, which is his lifeline. His source of income is actually this older man from the gym. The man looks a bit strange, but at least he seems passionate about his job. With that thought in mind, the young man walks towards his school for another day. He lets out a tired sigh as he gets closer to the school gates. The boy remembers that a beast should never reveal its weaknesses. So for now, he decides to keep his hands hidden inside his pockets. As he walks through the schoolyard, the bell suddenly rings. Meanwhile, a group of guys are talking to a blonde kid named Kyungtae. One of them asks Kyungtae if he chickened out the day before. The blonde boy just stares back with a cigarette in his mouth. The bully then continues to provoke him by making a joke about his grandfather. This comment clearly triggers something inside Kyungtae. He immediately grabs the bully's collar, getting ready for a fight. Before things get worse, another guy steps in to break them up. The peacemaker asks the bully to stop, but Kyungtae pushes him away in anger. In a fit of rage, the blonde boy kicks a nearby soda can with all his strength. He grits his teeth in frustration, thinking about how that other guy caused this mess. Meanwhile, the bullies whisper among themselves that what happened yesterday was just pure luck. One of them adds that the guy from before just got a bad hit and that was all. They conclude that no one has ever really seen Lee Kiju fight for real. The bigger guy tells his friend to be quiet so Kyungtae doesn't hear them, but the other is not scared. Overhearing their conversation, the blonde kid asks if they want him to show them what he can do. Then he pulls out a sharp box cutter to prove he didn't chicken out. The group of guys gets scared as the crazy kid walks towards them with the blade. One of the bullies nervously asks if they should stop him since he has clearly lost his mind. However, the second-year boss Choi Won-gyu says to let it happen since it looks amusing. With newfound determination, Kyungtae marches through the school halls looking for someone. His angry expression shows that he is very serious about finding his target. He suddenly kicks open a classroom door and shocks everyone inside with the blade in his hand. A girl in the class wonders if the new guy ever gets tired of causing trouble. The target of this anger is Lee Ki-ju, who is just sitting calmly at his desk. Seeing Ki-ju so relaxed makes the blonde kid's blood boil with incredible rage. He tightens his grip on the sharp box cutter, ready to make his move. With a furious scream, the crazed student lunges towards his target to attack. The girl from earlier watches the sudden assault with wide eyes completely frozen. Every other student in the classroom is equally shocked by the unexpected violence. Kyungtae swings the blade down with all his force, but Ki-ju dodges it. The classroom descends into chaos as the blonde attacker keeps trying his best. The female classmate is still in disbelief over what is happening right now. Everyone can only watch in horror as the dangerous situation unfolds before them. The enraged student continues to swing his blade wildly, trying to land a hit. Yet Ki-ju stays incredibly calm and easily dodges every single frantic attack. One of the bullies tries to intervene, but the crazed kid turns on him instead. Before the blade can hit the bully, Ki-ju grabs the blonde boy's wrist to stop him. With a single motion, the protagonist slaps the dangerous weapon out of his hand. The box cutter flies through the air as everyone in the classroom watches silently. Incredibly, the young man then catches the falling blade with his bare hand. All the students are completely shocked by his insane and reckless action. He seems unfazed as he calmly takes out his earbud and looks at the weapon. The protagonist then casually retracts the sharp blade back into its case. In another shocking move, he stabs his own thigh with the box cutter. The entire class is horrified but wonders how there is not even a drop of blood. A dark aura surrounds the boy as he stands up and stares down at the bullies. Seeing this, both the blonde kid and the other bully start to sweat with fear. Ki-ju then begins to walk slowly towards the two troublemakers with the cutter. The girl from before tries to stop him, warning that his actions are a crime. Ignoring her completely, the protagonist extends the sharp blade of the cutter again. He then quickly slaps the blonde attacker hard across the face. The impact of the slap sends the bully flying backwards across the room. Still dizzy from the powerful slap, the blonde kid is completely confused. Ki-ju then smiles and offers the box cutter back, asking if it belongs to him. The other bully just sweats and laughs nervously, seeing how crazy Ki-ju is. He quickly apologizes for the mistake, but the protagonist burns his shirt with a cigarette. With a calm smile, Ki-ju just tells them to be more careful next time. The girl from before lets out a sigh of relief since the situation is now resolved. To the bullies, however, Ki-ju's face looked incredibly menacing during the entire ordeal. A little while later, the school bell rings, signaling the end of classes for the day. As students leave for the PC cafe, the protagonist walks alone down the hall. He ignores the other students and stops in front of a school notice board. The young man's attention is caught by a poster as he wonders if that is it. It's an announcement for an amateur boxing tournament that his coach mentioned. A confident smile forms on his face as he realizes this is his chance. He starts to imagine himself as a world champion holding up a victory belt. In his daydream, the crowd goes wild and chants his name over and over again. He knows this amateur event is small, but it is a good starting point for him. The young man thinks that if he wins here, those guys will finally acknowledge his strength. Suddenly, a strange sound catches his attention and he looks down to see what it is. A small and adorable ginger cat is meowing at his feet for some attention. The protagonist smiles and gently picks up the cute little feline from the floor. He assumes it's just a friendly stray that lives somewhere around the school. As he holds the animal, another student calls out to it using the name Spring. The long-haired guy with a friendly smile on his face asks the kitty to come to him. Ki-ju just holds the cat as it playfully messes with the bandages on his hand. All of a sudden, the cat's mood changes and it lets out a very angry hiss. Before the protagonist can react, the small animal jumps out of his arms. He tries to stop the cat as it runs away, but the feline is just too fast. The other student tells him not to worry since the butterfly will come to him anyway. This guy then turns his attention to the boxing poster with a dark smirk on his face. In the next moment he grabs Kiju's hands and gets uncomfortably close to him. The strange guy looks at the protagonist's hands with a very creepy smile. After patting him on the shoulder, the long-haired student walks away with a sinister look. Kiju gets a bit confused by the interaction and wonders if it was encouragement. Back at the gym, the coach suddenly yells, asking if Kiju has lost his mind. The old man is in total disbelief that his student wants to enter the tournament. However, the young man confidently declares that he plans on winning the whole thing. Hearing this bold statement, the coach's face turns completely red from shock. He then slams his hands on the desk, completely freaking out over Kiju's decision. The coach believes this is just the typical overconfidence of a 3-month trainee. He starts to panic, thinking about his loans, and knows he must stop this somehow. The old man tries to reason with the boy, pointing out that he is still injured. With a slight smirk, Kiju asks his coach if he has already forgotten his special skill. He reminds the old man that he has mastered the legendary flicker jab technique. Kiju then confidently adds that his cast will be coming off in just 2 weeks. Feeling overwhelmed, the coach can only slam the table and scream his student's name. The coach insists that his student is too talented to be fighting in a small pond. He even makes a comparison to Ronaldo playing in a local club, which would not be fair. After some thought, the protagonist agrees that his coach's logic actually makes sense. The old man gets excited and adds that a high schooler cannot fight elementary kids. However, Kiju says a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. This determined response sends a massive jolt of pure shock through the poor coach. He panics because Kiju's talent guarantees a first-round knockout in the tournament. Feeling hopeless, the old man wonders if there is any way to convince his student. Seeing no other option, he finally gives in and decides they will just have to try. The coach then declares that from this day on they will begin a special training. With a confident smile, the protagonist agrees to the intense new regimen. For his first task, the young man is ordered to do 30,000 jump ropes immediately. 4 weeks later, 2 strangers enter the gym looking for the coach Sangho. They approach the protagonist and ask him if he knows where Coach Hyo is. Kiju turns around with a bright smile and says that his coach stepped out for a bit. The new coach is a bit annoyed since he should have called the gym first. He then explains that his boxer is entering the tournament, so he needs sparring experience. Unfortunately, Coach Hyo is not there and no other students are around to help. So the visiting coach asks Kiju if he would be willing to spar with his guy. The protagonist is quite surprised by the sudden and unexpected request for a sparring match. He gets very nervous, realizing this would be his first ever real sparring match. Despite his fears, Kiju agrees that testing his training is a very good idea. The bell rings and the 2 young boxers immediately start circling each other. The protagonist tells himself to stay calm and not get too excited during the match. He also remembers that his opponent is just another regular guy and not a pro. With a surge of confidence, Kiju tells himself not to be scared and to fight hard. The other boxer quickly closes the distance and throws the first punch of the match. Seeing the attack coming, Kiju braces himself for the incoming heavy blow. The protagonist takes a direct hit to the head, but he manages to stay on his feet. He is then shocked to see his opponent's backhand coming at him right away. The opponent throws another fast punch, trying to overwhelm the protagonist with his speed. Reacting quickly, Kiju ducks under the attack and narrowly avoids getting hit again. The sudden dodge catches the other boxer off guard and sends him stumbling forward. Kiju is amazed that he successfully used a ducking maneuver in a real fight. Seeing an opening, the protagonist goes for a counterattack with a strong body blow. The other boxer is completely surprised by the sudden and unexpected counter-punch. Before he can react, the punch lands hard on his face, making him cry out in pain. Kiju's opponent is sent staggering backwards, but he manages to stay on his feet. The visiting coach yells at his student to keep pushing forward and not give up. The protagonist notes that his opponent is much faster than he initially thought. He quickly guards up again as the other boxer comes rushing back for another attack. Kiju is forced to stay on the defensive as he struggles to find an opening. The opponent unleashes a relentless barrage of punches, keeping up the intense pressure. A memory of his coach's words flashes in the protagonist's mind during the fight. He remembers that an opponent shows a gap when he pulls back his punch. He also recalls that throwing a punch at that exact moment makes it easier to break through. Seeing the perfect opportunity, the protagonist throws a quick punch at his opponent. The powerful blow lands squarely on the other boxer's face with a loud thud. Excited that his jab landed, Kiju now prepares to unleash his special move. He then unleashes his signature flicker jab, overwhelming the other guy with rapid punches. The visiting coach is impressed by the speed of the imitation flicker jab. The opponent is helpless as he gets pummeled by the relentless barrage of fast jabs. The protagonist's eyes widen as he anticipates a powerful counterattack coming his way. His opponent grits his teeth and sweats profusely, ready to turn the tables. In a shocking move, the other guy throws a kick, which is not allowed in boxing. The two young fighters then exchange a flurry of intense blows in the ring. A solid punch from the opponent connects hard with the side of Kiju's head. In retaliation, the protagonist lands a devastating body shot on the other fighter. The powerful blow to the gut makes the opponent stagger back in a lot of pain. Kiju gets chills, wondering if he was Thomas Burns in a past life, while his opponent stumbles. Kiju feels his heart pound, knowing his hard work is finally paying off. Filled with determination, the young man believes he can actually win this fight. But his opponent unexpectedly launches a fierce counterattack with kicks and punches. Both fighters then trade a series of incredibly fast and powerful blows. Kiju gets caught by a strong punch that connects right on his headgear. Shaking it off, he lands another solid blow right into his opponent's stomach. The powerful hit sends the other boxer stumbling backwards, clearly looking weakened. Landing another hit gives the protagonist goosebumps as his opponent struggles to stand. He feels a surge of pride, realizing all his training was definitely not for nothing. With newfound confidence, Kiju now truly believes that victory is within his reach. Meanwhile, his coach is seen standing outside of a large bank building. The old man wipes his brow with relief, thankful his student did not quit. He then looks around, trying to find the Kyeolsung's boxing gym nearby. Deciding to take a small break, the coach walks down the street to get some coffee. He arrives at the gym and watches several other boxers sparring intensely inside. Meanwhile, Coach Hyo visits another gym, wondering why it is always so crowded. He then bumps into a guy named Jong-ho and asks if his coach is around. Jong-ho explains that his own coach went to Champion Boxing for a sparring session. The old man panics, realizing his gym only has one student there at the moment. With a loud scream of despair, he rushes back to his gym as fast as he can. Back at the gym, Kiju is on the floor looking heavily battered and bruised. A girl named Samin looks down at him with concern, asking what happened to his face. The young man is completely knocked out on the floor of the boxing ring. He can only manage to weakly say her name as she looks down on him. Meanwhile, the old coach is still running desperately up the stairs to get to his gym. He bursts through the door and is horrified to see his student on the floor. The coach stares in disbelief, completely shocked by the scene before him. With tears in his eyes, the protagonist tells Samin that he has no real talent. He then declares that he is thinking of quitting boxing, which shocks the old man. The coach furiously curses Kang Kyeolsung, declaring that he will not let this happen. The coach runs towards his fallen student while Samin tries to get him up. He yells at Kiju to reconsider but gets kicked away by Samin in the process. Samin tells the boy that his opponent was famous and it was not his fault for losing. She then gently tends to his injuries, telling him to stay still for a moment. The girl wonders how he got so beat up even while wearing protective headgear. She then lightly scolds him for not keeping his guard up during the fight. The young man gets flustered as she gets closer to treat his wounded nose. Meanwhile, the coach paces back and forth, talking about Pacquiao's connections. Samin's attention is suddenly drawn to the shoes the protagonist is wearing. She asks him if he really fought the entire match while wearing those shoes. The young girl then explains that his shoes are why he slipped and hurt his knee. Suddenly, the coach grabs Kiju's foot and looks at the running shoe with wide eyes. He then excitedly declares that he has finally figured out his student's real problem. The old man reminds the boy that boxing is all about the feet and not running shoes. Samin agrees with her dad and explains the importance of wearing proper boxing shoes. The coach adds that an unstable lower body will always put him at a disadvantage. Samin then suggests that if he plans to keep boxing, he should buy proper shoes. She even offers to help him pick them out, which makes the young man blush. The protagonist imagines himself on a date with her to go shopping for shoes. In his mind they look at expensive pairs of boxing shoes in a store window. He then pictures them having a fun conversation at a cute and cozy cafe. The girl tells him to think about her offer as she starts to walk away. Kiju quickly stops her and eagerly asks when they can go to buy the shoes. With a huge grin the coach says there is no need to go far for the shoes. He then pulls out a catalog with different boxing shoes for Kiju to choose from. The old man swears he is not making any profit and that this is a cheaper option. The protagonist feels awkward because he had already promised to go with Salmon. The coach then calls his daughter over to help the young man pick a pair. Salmon looks at the catalog and points to a specific pair she thinks is better. She is also surprised to see that the price is not even 100,000 won. He comments on the shoe's price saying that outside it would cost much more. After leaving the store the protagonist stands on the street with his new purchase. Holding the bag he thinks about what just happened inside that shop. He remembers seeing a similar shoe inside for only 68,000 won. This makes him furious thinking about how Coach Hyo tricked him with the price. Arriving back at the gym he sees everyone training intensely in the ring. The coach asks how the new shoes feel while the boy tests them out. The young man replies that they do feel a little different from his old ones. Suddenly his attention is drawn towards something happening across the gym. He sees Salmon getting ready to spar and wonders what is going on. His coach tells him to pay close attention because the girl is a natural athlete. He gets worried because her opponent is a guy who seems overly confident. The male fighter acts cocky saying he can't bring himself to hit a girl. The protagonist realizes the guy is completely underestimating Salmon's abilities. Just then the bell rings signaling the official start of the match. The two fighters touch gloves and the protagonist silently cheers Salmon on. As soon as the match starts her opponent throws a punch but she easily dodges it. She then blocks a powerful blow showing that the guy is not holding back at all. The girl struggles to defend herself exchanging some intense blows with the fighter. Taking an opening Salmon lands a clean and powerful hook right into his side. She follows up with a relentless barrage of punches aimed directly at his body. Her opponent is quickly overwhelmed by her speed and is unable to defend himself. The protagonist gets nervous thinking that overcoming a man's strength is too difficult. But the coach tells him to not worry and to pay close attention to her technique. He explains that she is using an ultimate finishing move that he needs to learn. With a determined expression the old man shouts for Salmon to finish the match now. The coach and the girl share a look of intense focus before she goes for the final blow. Salmon lands another devastating punch to the guy's abdomen weakening him. She then unleashes a final furious flurry of punches not giving him any room to breathe. Her opponent can only endure the assault as he is completely dominated by her attack. The young man is worried thinking about the difference in raw power between them. But the coach tells him to watch closely because he also needs to learn that technique. He explains that it is the ultimate finishing move which leaves the boy intrigued. With an intense look the old man screams for them to end the match right now. Salmon and the coach share a determined glance before she makes her final move. Her opponent grits his teeth as he throws a desperate punch forward. She then dodges his attack with a swift and almost imperceptible movement. This leaves the guy completely confused as he wonders where she has gone. Out of nowhere a single red glove appears right in front of his face. Salmon lands a devastating uppercut that connects cleanly with his chin. The incredible force of the blow sends her opponent flying into the air. The protagonist is left completely stunned by the amazing display of skill. On the ground the other fighter is knocked out while Salmon stands victorious. She takes off her headgear looking a bit tired but satisfied with the result. The coach then tells Salmon to go easy on the protagonist since he is her next opponent. The coach explains to Kiju that this is the finishing move he absolutely needs to learn. Astonished by the move the protagonist asks the coach how she managed to do that. In a quick demonstration a powerful punch flies forward with incredible speed. This strike lands directly on the opponent's face with a massive impact. The coach then asks if he's curious because it looked like Salmon just disappeared. Hearing this the boy nods with a determined expression ready to learn the new technique. He explains that the entire core of this amazing technique is the footwork. When the opponent's counterattack is coming you have to prepare yourself. You must then slip back just the distance of one fist making the opponent confused. Right at the moment the other person's attack ends she prepares her own counter. Then she throws a sharp counter punch that sends her sparring partner flying backward. Suddenly everything clicks in his mind and the protagonist has a moment of realization. He understands that this was the reason his punch missed during their last fight. In a flashback he sees his opponent dodging his punch using that very same step. Right after dodging, the opponent launched a clean counterpunch directly at him. He realizes he was the only one who got hit because his own attack had completely missed. The coach simplifies the move, explaining you slip out with a swoosh and then hit with a pack. Turning around, the trainer is suddenly surprised by the intense look on the boy's face. With a determined expression, the protagonist says he really needs that finishing move. A bit flustered, the coach agrees that they will start special training from today. After telling him to keep training, the coach starts to walk away, but Kiju stops him. The young fighter then asks his mentor what the official name of the technique is. Pointing his finger forward, the trainer prepares to tell him the name of the move. He dramatically reveals that the technique is called suckback with a serious look. Kiju seems confused by the name and asks if there isn't a proper name for it. Scratching his head, the man insists that the move's name is just suckback and that's it. Standing alone in the gym, the boy thinks about the name and gets ready to train. He begins to practice the first part of the technique, which is the quick step back. Then he practices the explosive forward movement by pushing off his back foot. Finally he puts it all together and lets out a powerful yell as he practices the punch. He throws a powerful punch with all his might as he practices the new move. His coach happily shouts that's enough practice for the day while holding up the pads. The mentor says he has completely mastered the finishing move over the past month. Breathing heavily, the protagonist thanks his coach for all the hard training. Looking at a calendar, he realizes there are only 3 days left until the big match. The coach tells him to rest well while the boy says he is going to take a shower. Inside the locker room, he turns on the shower, letting the cold water run. He washes away all the sweat and fatigue from his intense training session. Just then the coach's daughter Salman walks in, saying she is going to clean the shower. Meanwhile, Kiju starts getting dressed, putting on his pants while still humming a tune. He then grabs a towel to dry his hair, still completely unaware of his surroundings. As Salman opens the door to the men's locker room, she is completely taken by surprise. In front of her stands the protagonist, shirtless and flexing in front of the mirror. Annoyed by the sight, she tells him to hurry up and get dressed quickly. Startled by her voice, the door suddenly slams shut, leaving him alone in the locker room. Still flustered, the protagonist quickly covers himself with a towel, feeling very embarrassed. Outside the locker room, Salman wonders to herself when he got so muscular and fit. She walks back to the front desk, seeing her father asleep, and decides she is done for the day. Her dad suddenly wakes up and asks his daughter what she is doing just standing there. Getting angry, she says she doesn't know and tells him to clean it himself, then throws her bag at him. Later that evening, the protagonist and the coach's daughter are walking home together. He thinks to himself that they have been spending a lot of time together lately due to training. Salman then breaks the silence by trying to bring up what she saw in the locker room earlier. Hearing this makes the young fighter incredibly flustered and he starts to blush uncontrollably. Trying to change the subject, he awkwardly tells her that she should speak first. She then tells him that he needs to take good care of his body for the upcoming match. He agrees and also mentions that the boxing shoes she got for him are really good. Hearing his comment about her gift makes her genuinely happy and she smiles a little. After their brief conversation, the two continue walking down the street in silence. Nearby, a blonde-haired guy is loudly celebrating setting a new record on a punching machine. As they walk, Kiju notices a familiar group and asks if that is Kyungtae's crew. The blonde guy with a cigarette in his hand turns around and recognizes the protagonist. Salman immediately gets a worried look on her face, seeing the group of bullies. Trying to avoid any trouble, the boy waves at them with a big awkward smile. The bully with the bowl cut immediately asks if the two of them are out on a date. Completely flustered, the protagonist quickly denies it, saying it's not a date at all. The bullies decide to mess with them, confident that their friend's record is unbeatable. With a smug grin, Kyungtae asks Kiju if he wants to try the punching machine once. The young fighter nervously replies that he has never actually tried it before in his life. Pushing him towards the machine, the bully says it is simple and he just needs to hit it. The group keeps mocking him, saying he'd probably set a new record, but Kyungtae is the best. One of the bullies then asks if Kyungtae wins if he can't break the current record. To make things more interesting, they suggest a bet and the boy asks what kind of bet. The loser has to be their personal bread shuttle for an entire month every single day. Seeing things get out of hand, Salman steps forward and tells them all to stop. Ignoring her, the protagonist thinks about how he has never used a machine like this before. However, a smirk forms on his face as he decides to accept their challenge, thinking it sounds fun.